Good to see you all. We'll start with the lighting of our candles to mark our coming together as a community, bringing our joys and our sorrows. There are many notes or candles and one note already here. I'll read the one note that's been left for me out loud. There's a candle of joy here. Our joy comes from the kindness and support of this community. I am so new to being here at UUTC, and UUTC has shown me and my family all of this. Thank you. You're welcome, David. Is there any other note on a candle that has already been lit this morning you wanted to lift up? Any new joys or sorrows not yet represented in the candles here? Do you have one, Emery? Okay. Gail. Just the joy of this wonderful season. The joy of the wondrous season. Thanks, Gail. Alice.
I'm happy to see so many people here who haven't been with us for a while or, have only recently been able to come back. We have sitting in Carter, and Carter is here this morning. And I'm just so happy to see them.
So happy. Thank you, Alice. So happy for all that are here this morning and those that we have not seen all that often or for quite some time. So glad to have you all here. Somebody, as I was coming in, noticed that it was very hard to find a parking space. I love hearing that. That's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. We'll go ahead and get rolling with the service with some announcements here now. Thank you for all that you've shared. And please remember, whatever you hold in your hearts, a candle is glowing for that as well. We have a few announcements. The email blast that went out this week was really good at advertising Solstice on Wednesday. And so I hope that you'll come. It says have a bell. I suppose you can come even if you don't have a bell, but you can think to bring a bell to our holiday midweek service. And I know there have been a lot of rehearsals to make sure this is all coming together at dusk and darkness on Wednesday. We also had our Christmas Eve services announced, but when we announced it in the Friday email, it left off the 6 o'clock service. I only mentioned the 4 o'clock family service. So please, families, absolutely, you've got extra advertising to come and show up. But everybody who wants to come to a more contemplative candlelight service at 6, please show up at the 6 o'clock service. I also want to mention that the hymn that we're singing at the very end, Light One Candle, is a complex 4-pager in the hymn book. Hymn books are in these 2 cabinets to the sides. Should you decide that you would get confused by just the lyrics on the screen and you want the hymn book, sneak over to one of those cabinets during the service and grab a hymn book. You're always welcome to. On any Sunday, you come in to grab one and then put it back. We also, when this order service went out, we did not know that Jenna Claire Martin was going to be providing our offertory. And so please note when that time comes, we welcome Jenna Claire Martin. Thank you for your talent this morning. I am running the pronouns workshop again today. After the service, we're going to give you time to get your coffee and for the kids and the teachers to clear out from the large classroom, and then around 11:15 or so when that's happened, we'll go in there and have our pronouns workshop, he, him, she, them, zir, zim, thon, and all sorts of things. I'll mention something in the service today about that too, but wanted to make sure you're invited to come to that. Those are the main announcements that I have. This one came in, a musical program on Tuesday, and so we promised the organizers, I think through the NAACP, that we would put this on the screen. And so we have, if you'd like to go to the musical program on Tuesday. Was there another announcement, Lisa?
Well, it did say in the newsletter, but not up here, that the 5:30 solstice service involves the doors being locked just before 5:30, so please come and please be here.
Right. So there are a couple of services, thank you, Lisa, where we are going to close the doors. So as it said in the newsletter, the solstice service, be here before 5:30 because the doors will be closed. And the 6 o'clock service, get here at least in time for the prelude, because as soon as the prelude's done, the doors will close because we have a very dramatic opening that needs to be in darkness and undisturbed. Now, at the Christmas Eve service, you can wait until the first carol to come in if the ushers are standing at the door like this. Or there's a sign saying don't come in, well, you can wait. Yes, we do hope that you will be on time. And yes, Vanessa?
Because I've been asked, there will be a Christmas Day service live in person only.
Yes, there is a Christmas Day service. We're giving the people in the booth the day off. We're giving the minister the day off. We're giving a whole bunch of people the day off. But Vanessa has stepped forward and is putting together a service for those of you who want to show up live. It will not be online because then we'd have to have people in the booth working. So it's just in person, next Sunday. Thank you. Your minister forgets lots of great things. Those are all great things. We're very busy this week, if you hadn't noticed. Guess what's happening now?
Hark, how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, big and small. Ding dong, loud is our song. Ring, joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they found, raising the sound, for hill and dale, telling the tale. Merrily they ring, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Merry, merry, merry Christmas. Merry, merry, merry Christmas. Tell how they sing, dog without end, their joyful song to every home. Hark, how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, big and small. Ding dong, loud is their song. Ring, joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they sound, raising their sound, o'er hill and dale, telling their tale. Gaily they ring, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. All around they sing, dog without end, their joyful tone to every home. All around they sing, dog without end, their joyful tone to every home. Ding dong, ding dong.
Thank you, John and the choir. Good morning. I hope this brisk morning has your blood flowing and so you're ready to go as we start our one of our special holiday services. These are words by Gwen Matthews, and she says, as December opens up before us, we welcome in the gift of reflection. We turn toward our holiday celebrations and search for common threads of meaning. Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, commemorates a time of miracles when the faith of the Jewish people sustained them to reclaim their holy temple and keep the light of the menorah burning for 8 days. Christmas, the celebration of Jesus' humble birth in a manger, offers us to revisit the miracle of birth and the desire to find saviors to heal the scars of humanity. Here in our church, you are just as much a miracle holiday as the turning of the earth, as persistence and dedication to a faith, as the creation of each new life. We see the love you give to others in the space to create, to hold one another's joys and sorrows, and the generosity and spirit that you entrust to this community. You are the holiday miracle. This community is one of the miracle makers. Now, if you would all rise and join us in the first hymn, number 235, Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly. We'll do the chalice lighting in unison, please. These are the words of the Reverend D.C. Fortune. We light this chalice as a symbol of our free faith. We light this chalice to remember the miracle of the oil that burned for 8 days. We light this chalice to mark the nights of midwinter. We light this chalice as we wait for the sun to return.
We'll also light each of our Advent candles, all 4, as we add the newest candle for this week. which stands for peace. All right. We're going to do this again, where I sit on the floor and show you the pictures while I read upside down. All right? This really great book we've got, Kevin picked out. It's called Oscar and the 8 Blessings. It's got a little prelude that I'll read first. Oscar's mother and father believed in the power of blessings. And you know what? KT, you can't see this, and whoever's in the back can't see it. Come on down and scoot up with me. You can see better. Great. Oscar's mother and father believed in the power of blessings. So did Oscar. Until the night of broken glass. His parents put him on a ship to America. He had nothing but an address and a photo of a woman he didn't know. "It's your Aunt Esther," said his parents. And his father's last words to him were, "Oscar, even in bad times, people can be good. You have to look for the blessings." Oscar arrived in New York on the 7th day of Hanukkah. It was also Christmas Eve. He knew his Aunt Esther would be lighting the menorah at sunset. To reach her before the sun went down, Oscar would have to walk over 100 blocks on the avenue called Broadway. And the city was terribly big. Oscar was terribly small, and Broadway stretched before him like a river. Oscar was already tired, hungry, and cold. His father's last words to him felt very far away. After a few blocks, he looked up to see a woman feeding pigeons. She offered him a piece of stale bread so that he could feed the pigeons too. Oscar wanted to feed the birds, but he was too hungry not to swallow the morsel himself. The woman reached inside her pocket and gave him a small loaf of bread. It was warm and fresh, and it gave him the strength to keep on walking. He saw a newsstand full of comics. One showed a strong man in a cape doing amazing things. He stopped bullets. He stopped trains. The newsman held out the comic to his hands, and Oscar didn't have any money, so he gave it back. But the man called to him. "Keep it, kid. Merry Christmas," he said. Oscar clutched his gift, his Superman, and he heeded his father's words and headed away. You have to look for the blessings. Oscar kept walking. He stopped when he heard music coming from a little alley where a big man was humming a jazzy tune. The man whistled to Oscar, and Oscar whistled back, and they made a tune as fast and light as the snowflakes falling around them. It was Oscar's first conversation in America. At the corner of a park, boys were having a snowball fight. One boy slipped, and Oscar leapt and caught him just like the Superman would have done. the boy was laughing, and that made Oscar laugh. But when he looked at Oscar's cold hands, the boy stopped laughing, and he took off his own mittens and gave them to Oscar. And Oscar put them on and felt the boy's warmth. He had something to give the boy, too. Look what he's giving to the boy. His comic. That's right. A few blocks later, a tall lady in a big coat walked out of a building, and a policeman shouted, "Stand aside for the lady." And Oscar stopped short. "Oh, Thomas, he's just a child," the lady said to the policeman. "Let him pass." And she winked at Oscar before getting into her limousine. The policeman moved out of Oscar's path. "Yes, ma'am," he said. The sun was setting, and Oscar began to run. He had to get to Aunt Esther's before she lit the shamash. Running, he stumbled, and he fell. And a hand reached down and pulled him up. "Back on your feet, son," said somebody. His father was right. People can be good. He turned the corner and ran down the street looking for her house. He ran past a woman humming a little song, and suddenly, he heard a name. "Benjamin?" she said. It wasn't his name, it was his father's, and it washed over him. She had a dimpled smile just like his. "That's Papa," he said. And she said, "Oscar." It was Aunt Esther. And that closes our story. Made it just in time. Did you count to 8? Think about this. You had the lady with the bread and the comic book and the boy with the mittens or gloves. The guy whistling the jazzy tune, and the tall lady going to her limousine, and let's see, who else? The person who helped pick him up, and I must have missed one in there. Have to go through this book all over again. But I want to say something. And I'm going to talk more to the parents when I have a chance. But in 1790, George Washington, you know who George Washington was.
Yeah, he's on my dollar bill.
He's on your dollar bill. And George Washington told the Jewish people in Rhode Island that here in America we have freedom of religion, and that the Jewish people could be able to practice their religion here. And it wasn't just that we tolerated people who practiced religion, we celebrated it. This story is about Oscar leaving a place where he was told he wasn't allowed to practice his religion. And it was on the eve of lighting the menorah for Hanukkah, which is celebrating and remembering a time in which the Jewish people in ancient times had to fight to get their worship space back and be able to worship the way they wanted. So I think of this story as a lot of blessings, but also the blessings that we have when we let people worship the way they want to, their way, and not make them stop. So that's our lesson for this morning, is our words of wisdom. Now, I don't know that Kevin picked out anybody to carry the candle, but KT, you're closest to me. Do you want to carry the candle out with the rest of them? All right, come on over here, KT. Yeah. If you come up here, we'll give you the light. folks, would you, as you're willing, rise and wave and sing as the children are led out by KT to their classes? Back in time of World War II, Unitarian Universalists knew that what was going on in Europe was very awful, needed some assistance, some help, and Unitarian, at the time just Unitarian because we hadn't merged yet, now the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, was put together mostly by a couple of people volunteering to head out and do what they needed to do for refugees. There was a quote on the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee website that reminds me of the Oscar story. It's written by Gerda Meyer, who fled Prague on March 14th, 1939. Times were so desperate, people were thankful if they could get their children onto the transports. I do remember at the airport, my mother was walking up and down with my sister, arm in arm, pensively. And then we had our last meal, and my father took photographs. They thought one of us might escape and come to safety. My mother and the rest of my family didn't survive. It's a recollection posted on the Service Committee website. To remember that sometimes we give our time, our talent, our treasure. We give our compassion. We give everything we have that others might even just survive in an awful world. Oscar's dad said, look for the blessings, because even in awful times, there are good people. This may be the last Sunday that you're here if you don't come next week during Christmas morning to give to the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee in our collection baskets. We have the envelopes if you'd like to slip that in to an envelope for cash, or you can write UUSC in the memo line of a check, and I'm going longer and longer in case you need to reach for something. You're also welcome to just put your contributions or your catch-up checks for your annual contributions before the IRS wants you to give it, or whatever for our congregation. But we hope that whatever you give joyfully. We will now receive the morning offering. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Gypsy. What is given in love, we receive with great joy, and we say, thank you. At least I got my mic off in time there. I invite you to take a deep breath, sink into your seats, or be at the edge of them. Close your eyes or keep them awake and be aware. Ground yourself, that we may now enter this time of meditation and prayer. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here on this day, rejoice in knowing that we are in a community of love and sharing, of talented and gifted folks, folks who reach out with compassion, folks who will prepare a meal and deliver, folks who will bring us music and joy, those who make coffee, prepare the space, make sure that everything is working, from the headsets to be heard, to the words that wash over us. We are grateful for all the blessings, the many blessings in no matter what times, good or bad in our lives, we find that there are good people to share with us and with whom we can share. Spirit of love and life, we lift up the joy of all who are here. We lift up in particular joys this morning, including David's joy, the kindness and support that we have shown. We come with sorrows and silent candles as well for the empty chairs, the grief, the remembering during the darkest seasons. We come here knowing that this safe place is where we might be nurtured, nourished, and empowered. Spirit of love and life, we hold these and the meditations of our minds in the silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say amen. Blessed be.
In case you haven't figured it out, Jen and Claire's proud grandparents are Nancy and Ben Potter, who are sitting with her in the front here. Jen and Claire, thank you so much. It was beautiful. If you had been in church in the close of the 18th century around Boston, in a small country church or in a larger church in the city of Boston, the kind of music you would have been hearing and participating in, because most everybody sang at that time, would be something by William Billings, or of the same ilk. The song that we're going to sing today was brought to my attention and then ordered and paid for by Dr. Morris Jenkins. Thank you, Morris. Is what is called a fuguing tune. I almost said fudging tune, because that's what I always confuse. Fuguing tune, where there's a verse and then the chorus, which is repeated. The basses start, and then the tenors come in, and then the altos come in, and then the sopranos come in, and they're each one trying to decide, see if they can outdo the other section. And it's a raucous kind of thing. If you've ever been in a sacred harp singing, if you haven't, you need to go to one. They are big in this area, in the South particularly, but one of the best things on the web about sacred harp singing is from Ireland. There's a group in Ireland, somewhere, I forget exactly what city. But anyway, this is the song that we're going to sing for you, and the name of it is Sherban. That's the name of the tune. That's the way it was done. The name of the tune, but the words are, "While shepherds watch their flock." Wouldn't you know? Here it is, Christmas time.
I invite you to join in the responsive reading. The words will be on the screen. We'll see the different colors here. You may notice your minister and the words on the screen are blue and white. This is because these are Hanukkah colors. So I'll go ahead and read the blue plain type, and you can read the white italics. We light the Hanukkah candles in wonder, joy, and gratitude, each candle a miracle. We rededicate dedicate ourselves to the miracle of light in a season of darkness. To the miracle of hope in a time of despair. We rededicate ourselves to the miracle of wholeness in a time of fracture. To the miracle of resistance in a time of oppression. And in a time of hatred, we rededicate ourselves to the miracle of love. More and more. Now these are not real, so I can stand next to that. Here we are. Don't let the light go out is the message of the sermon here. We've had the storybook. We've had bits and pieces of talking about menorah lights. We've had, well, Christmas music and Deck the Hall, which is really a pagan song for the solstice. But let's concentrate on the Hanukkah part right now. Let's concentrate on that message of the light lasting for 8 days, the message of the Maccabees, Judah and the Maccabees being able to reclaim the temple, the message George Washington. I'm going to start with the full quote, not just the little synopsis I gave to the kids. This is what George Washington said in 1790. All possess alike liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship. It is now no more that toleration is spoken of, as if it were by the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens, in giving it, on all occasions, their effectual support. Judah the Hammer Maccabee. Sounds like a wrestler's title. Regained the temple that had been converted by the government to celebrate all religions. Took over the space that the Jewish people said, no, but this was our space. It was reclaimed. It was reclaimed in a shambles. It was reclaimed in a way that they felt they had to clean it out and sanctify it once more. And it was only 1 day's worth of oil to light in the lamp. Now, we have an oil lamp here. We don't particularly care what the source of the light is, so long as it doesn't get all smoky on us and ruin our ceilings. But there's a sense in which, for different traditions, things need to be blessed before they're used for sanctified purpose. And so the Jewish people took the days necessary to make the oil and bless it, that the light might continue now that they had their temple back. In this country, we have a whole lot of people who aren't paying attention to George Washington. A whole bunch of people who don't get it, that this is supposed to be a place in which people enjoy and exercise their religions. It's not that people should comport themselves in a mean way to one another, but he says to demean themselves as good citizens. And we have a tough time with that in America. Back and forth, back and forth. Now, I don't know that there was a whole lot of protest that Jewish children would arrive in this country to be sent to someone to take care of them in World War II, but I know that an entire shipload of Jewish people were turned away from the shores of America in the beginnings of World War II, sent back to the Nazis after they had chartered a ship to come to safety. I know that we don't always live up to what we should be doing. Our sense of religious liberty is sometimes distilled down to individual prejudices. You can't make me do something nice for another citizen. It's against my religion. That happened to me this month. The pronouns workshop that I'm working on. I wanted to get the newest, best resource, and Kevin looked at it and said, ooh, I want that, and I'll make sure I give it to Kevin. The work that he's doing for Transylvania County teens who are marginalized, LGBTQ. This is an entire book called Rethinking Gender. It's a graphic novel style book. When I ordered this from Highland Books right up here on Main Street, I ordered it with enough time that I knew, okay, I'm going to be able to read this and brush up with the newest stuff so that I'm ready for the pronouns workshop, and it didn't come in. It didn't come in, and they apologized profusely and said they're reordering it. And then when I went in to pick it up, they told me the story. And they said, it's not our fault. It's nothing we did. But somebody in the publisher's warehouse decided that people shouldn't read this book about gender. And so they put in their own religious book substitute for it and sent it to us. And we knew it wasn't random because the title they picked was just too in your face about the topic. I don't know, did George Washington say that you don't have to do your job if you don't like somebody else's viewpoint? Demeaning yourself as a good citizen means not allowing others to be recognized. I mean, it's not even the piece in which he said, and I had said last week as well, it's not just about tolerating one another. That's just too low an opinion. It's really accepting one another. So when I get to Hanukkah here, and I think back to the Jewish story, and I think back to the way in which this country's kind of waffled and forgotten George Washington's words to the Jews in Rhode Island, or Thomas Jefferson's words to the Danbury, Connecticut Baptists. Baptists, of course, having been kicked out of Massachusetts for practicing the wrong religion. Or the Quakers with their statue to Mary Dyer, who was killed because she was a Quaker in Massachusetts. Or any number of ways in which we as Americans, colonial times or even current, mess up on the idea that people should be able to worship in their way. Not in a way that stamps out others, their own way. Not in a way that we approve governmentally, but their way. We light candles or lights every single Sunday. The symbolism of the light, the many words we put to it, the holiness of what we want and define for ourselves, comes down to a basic humanist perspective. And that is that we must walk our lives in a way that we wish others would grant to us. We must offer to others something of goodness, blessing after blessing to strangers who are walking a path, hungry and cold, because we would wish nothing less for ourselves, our family members, our friends. In this Hanukkah, when I say, don't let the light go out, this is what I mean. When our final hymn sings it, it's don't let the light go out until we've rededicated the temple, until we've made the new oil. But maybe that's for us too. In this season, in whatever season in our country, don't let the light go out. Remember what George Washington asked of us. Remember the freedoms that we might give to each other. Remember something of treating others as we would wish to be treated. I haven't lit the Hanukkah candles yet. Tonight is the night of the first candle to be lit. I do not mean to be sacrilegious, but I would like to bring something of the words of blessing to be said out loud as the candle is lit. I will do that now in preparation for tonight, in recognition of welcoming into this space something of that Jewish observance. Now, there is no reason for me to go down on my knees and do this except that you can see better. And this way I'm not covering up the view. There is something that is not quite right about the placement of this menorah. It should really be there. Because the menorah is not supposed to be for decoration or for use. You're not supposed to read a book by the light of the menorah. It's supposed to be public display of thanks for the miracle. But I'll get out of the way of the camera here. And first, light the shamash, the helper candle. Just as our chalice has a helper candle, so this menorah does. And with the helper candle, I will read this blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nasim lahavitenu bayahim hayem bazam haze. We experience your blessing, Holy One of all time and space, source of all miracles for our ancestors in these days at this time. We kindle these lights because of the wondrous deliverance you performed for our ancestors. During these 8 days of Hanukkah, these lights are sacred. We are not to use them, but only to behold them, so that their glow may rouse us to give thanks for your wondrous acts of deliverance. May we too have acts of deliverance and the miracles of the goodness in this season. Thank you. Again, I mentioned, and I see on this side a couple of hymn books are set out already. It's a 4-page hymn. We're going to have the words on the screen. If it gets jumbled or confused, that's okay. The choir has their hymn books out. They have number 221 already in their hands, and they'll set us right if we get off track. Please rise as you're willing and able and join in our final hymn for Hanukkah, Light One Candle. Let's carry them out. Let's carry them out in our hearts to be a light to others, to be a miracle on the path of those who are wandering, to remember the words of acceptance the founders of this country wished that we might carry. Don't let the light go out. Though we've extinguished this one, it lives on in you and your actions. And then return again in love.